Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this executive launch event for Light the Night right here in the National Capital area. I'm Ria Friedberg, Executive Director of the chapter, and I'll be your host for today's program on the Zoom platform, a platform I'm sure a lot of us have gotten very used to over the last weeks and months. First and foremost, I want to thank you for joining us from wherever you may be. I know we're all in a unique time right now, so hopefully today's presentation can take your mind off of the current pandemic and think about when we can all gather together again. Even though you may have been using Zoom a lot lately, I want to make sure you know how we'll be using the platform today. All of your microphones and cameras have been turned off as we'll be using the poll and chat functions during today's launch event. You'll see the poll pop up a bit later on your screen, and if you have any issues or questions, please use the chat function to send a note to the LTN staff as opposed to the entire group. We recommend if you're watching the presentation to have it on full screen as opposed to gallery view. You can change this setting in the top right corner. We're also recording this session, so you'll have access to it later on. What we've all been through over the last few months has certainly changed the world as we know it. It has also changed our plans for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's events. Traditionally, we would host this executive launch and other Light the Night events in person. However, out of an abundance of caution and prioritizing the safety of our patients and volunteers, our staff, and our supporters, LLS will be holding all Light the Night events virtually this year, and we'll be sharing more about our new virtual Light the Night platform later. The past few months have brought so much uncertainty and change to our world. But through it all, LLS has stayed true to its mission, and that's to provide support for 1.4 million Americans with a blood cancer and to fund the research that will someday lead us to a world without cancer. Leading the charge is LLS's President and CEO, Dr. Lou DeGennaro, who has recorded a special message that I'd like to share with you now. Here's Dr. Lou.
Good day to you all. Dr. Lou DeGennaro here. I want to thank you all for joining us today and for your interest and enthusiasm in LLS's signature event, Light the Night. In the midst of the current pandemic, volunteers and supporters like you enable the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society to keep doing our life-saving work. COVID-19 has stopped so much of the world in its tracks, but ladies and gentlemen, cancer is not canceled. Blood cancer patients everywhere continue to depend on the support, research, and advocacy that LLS has provided for over 70 years. Which is why we haven't let this pandemic slow us down. In fact, we've expanded our services to make sure that patients can continue to get what they need. In April, we launched the LLS COVID-19 Patient Financial Aid Program, which delivers funds to help patients with non-medical expenses, such as food, housing, and utilities. More than 15,000 families have already benefited from over $4 million in aid. We can do that because of the support of people like you. On the research side, we continue to search out the brightest minds and fund the most promising new therapies. In fact, some of our researchers are currently investigating projects that could have applications in treating COVID-19. Research is what will get us through this pandemic, and research will lead us to a cure for cancer. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, science will win against COVID-19 and against cancer. We need your help to make that happen. I hope you enjoy today's Light the Night program, and from the bottom of our hearts, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Lou. It's really true that this morning's executive launch is building a solid foundation for Light the Night. Your presence here this morning means so much to our team, our committee, and most importantly, the patients we serve. At this time, I'd like to express our heartfelt thanks to our outstanding executive committee. I want to give a quick shout out to my co-hosts, two incredible business leaders, and our 2020 corporate walk chairs, Ed Berry, CEO of Capital Bank, and Carl Dicker, COO of Capital Bank. Ed and Carl, we are honored to have you leading our Light the Night campaign. On behalf of our team, I want to extend a very special thank you to both of you for stepping up to make a big impact on our mission and remaining steadfast during the past few months. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Carl.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. Let me briefly tell you why I've committed to LLS as a corporate walk chair for Light the Night in the National Capital Area. Let me take you back to the beginning of 2013. I had a 6-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old son, who was very active in their lives, including being their coach of their soccer and baseball teams, respectively. It was generally very healthy. I didn't go to the doctor often, but something felt off, as I had enlarged glands in my neck and under my arm and woke up in cold sweats. I was quickly diagnosed with lymphoma, a type of blood cancer. It was a scary time for me, mostly because I had a young family with 2 kids who needed a father, and I was also the main breadwinner in my family. It was scary and stressful, and I wanted to reassure my family that I was fine and would be a survivor. I kept coaching and working and spent most of the year receiving aggressive treatment that involved chemotherapy and radiation. Thanks to absolutely amazing doctors and nurses, as well as the incredible support from friends and family, today I'm healthy and doing well. Unfortunately, there's so many people that are less fortunate than me. I've had aunts, grandparents, and friends diagnosed with cancer and have lost their battles. I want to help dramatically increase the number of survivors and help to find a cure for cancer. That's why I light the night. And I truly hope that today's program will help you see why you should join me and hundreds of thousands of others who are lighting the night from coast to coast. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ed.
Thanks, Carl. Your story is really inspirational to me. I still remember the day when you and your wife sat me down to let me know that you were undergoing cancer treatment. And it was just a shock and the helplessness I felt of what you can do to help your friend going through a battle to save his life. And that feeling of helplessness, I would never wish on anyone. And that was the inspiration for me to come and be part of this organization to help others shed the darkness of cancer and bask in the light. It's great to see Carl's recovery, and it's great to see all the great work and hear of all the great stories that LLS has helped produce over the past several years. If anything, the last few months have told us that things change on a dime, and you got to be ready for it. As Dr. Lou said, cancer is not canceled, so you have to find a way to fight through it. But the darkness that comes with cancer and those dreaded words of "you have cancer," or even worse, God forbid, your child has cancer, really puts people back on their heels. So I'd like to now to share a story and introduce you to Michael Waxman, President and CEO of Waxman Strategies, and he can share his very personal connection to our mission and why he's a big supporter of Light the Night. Michael?
Thank you so much, Ed, and thank you, Carl, for sharing your stories. I am honored to be with you today, and I appreciate that all of you are coming together to help end blood cancer. I'm going to share a little bit about my family story. I think I'm similar to many of you. I'm married. I have 2 kids. I live in Bethesda, and our cancer story really started 4 years ago. Our world was rocked when my son, who was 6 years old at the time, was diagnosed with cancer. And, for us, it all started with some really minor symptoms. My son had some bruising, which just seemed a little bit strange, but we chalked it up that he was a 6-year-old who was knocking around and had bruising. And then one night he was doing this yoga pose and sort of couldn't breathe. And we said, boy, that's strange. So we called our pediatrician and he said, well, it's the weekend, so maybe tomorrow, if you're concerned, you can go to the emergency room and check it out. And so we went to sleep, and the next day we debated what we should do, but we ultimately went to the emergency room. And that's really where the picture will never sort of leave my mind when the doctor called us over and into a waiting area where there were 2 chairs and sat us down and said, we've looked at his blood results and it's very clear to me that he has leukemia. And after that, this whirlwind began, whirlwind of treatment. Jake, as you're seeing his pictures, endured really 3.5 years of chemo treatment. That first year was quite brutal. He missed a year of kindergarten, but after that there was rounds. And when it's common to see your son in pain, it is just realize that you're living in a different reality. But we have a very fortunate story, and our fortunate story is that Jake is now cancer-free, and he's doing well, and he's back in school, and he is really one of the great stories. But we recognize that the cancer, as Carl mentioned, is one of the great equalizers, and so many people have their own stories. For us, LLS has been absolutely critical. One of the trials that Jake has been on has been supported by LLS. And when we were in the hospital, we saw at Children's so many families that were coming in, and to know that LLS is there for them, whatever they need. And I'll just finally add that Light the Night is incredibly special for us. Jake was diagnosed in October, and very quickly we were trying to figure out what to do. How do we rally and show support for Jake? And our friends and family wanted to do the same. And so we created Team Super Jake. And that team very quickly jumped in, and we participated in DC. And Jake was not able to join us that first year, but he has now joined us every year since. And to have an event where really we can come together, raise money for LLS, but also be together as a community and create that community is critical. And so all of you, as you're looking to participate in Light the Night, frankly, we feel like you're there to support us, and you're there to support other families and others who are going through the fight. And it is such a powerful message to us, and I think it's a powerful message to all the people that you invite. So I want to really thank you for participating and joining. And I know that this year is a little bit different, but your support is needed now more than ever. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Michael, for sharing Jake's story with us. What a true inspiration. And, Jake is, kind of one of the folks that I'll also be kind of looking at in terms of why I do what I do. And, on behalf of myself and everyone watching, we wish Jake just many years of health, happiness, and really a chance to light the night with Super Jake, and lots of fun enjoying being a kid, which is what it's about. And so glad that you shared that story with us. As a parent, it's easy to imagine what challenges arise when you're caring for a sick child, juggling finances, changes to your routine, and helping their siblings cope. It's just a lot to manage. There's a lot to manage for me, and I couldn't imagine how much it is when it's a sick child, is how you could support them. When cancer affects a member of your professional team, many of those same concerns arise. For so many years, cancer has been at the center of the national healthcare conversation. All of that changed earlier this year when COVID-19 became the center of not only the conversation, but also the world. But today we're going to return to the focus of family of diseases, which are the leading cause of death in 22 states, and the diseases which have upended families, ended careers, and changed futures forever. Nearly half of all men and a little more than a third of women in the United States will have cancer in their lifetimes. Those are just staggering statistics. When it comes to a new diagnosis of blood cancer, each and every minute, 3 minutes. So every 3 minutes, someone's diagnosed with cancer. It's one of the darkest moments in anyone's life. I know it was for me. Beyond the fear and emotional turmoil, fighting cancer is expensive. Expensive not just for the person diagnosed, but also for society. 1 in 3 patients turn to friends and family to pay for care, and up to 80% exhaust their savings to manage medical expenses. People battling cancer file for bankruptcy 260% more than those without the disease. I personally maxed out on healthcare benefits, and we spent about 10 times what we typically spend in healthcare just in that year. Couldn't imagine it was a multi-year battle. The total economic cost of cancer in the US is estimated at approximately $80 billion. And the sheer scale of battling cancer affects employee productivity and morale significantly. The darkness of cancer certainly puts a serious burden on our society. But the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society brings significant light to the darkness, and as we say, beating cancer is in our blood. LLS is the first and largest nonprofit in the world dedicated to fighting blood cancers. I'd also say they're the most successful. Since 2017, the FDA has approved 60 new blood cancer treatments. LLS has helped advance 52 of them. That's unbelievable. LLS has helped to advance 88% of all blood cancer treatments since 2017. Even though it's, as we kind of move on, even though as you take a look at this slide, that these names are hard to pronounce, the LLS-backed therapies that you see on the screen mean the world to countless people who are fighting for their lives. If I was born just a generation before, my treatment and prognosis would have been much more grim. Thanks to these life-saving treatments that LLS has supported, many more people are survivors than ever before. We're coming closer to a cure for cancer every day. And when LLS funds breakthroughs in blood cancers, they're also funding breakthroughs in all cancers. Cancer cells in the blood are more accessible than those in solid tumors, which makes it easier to study, measure progress, and make pivotal discoveries that apply to other diseases, including bone, prostate, brain, breast, and ovarian cancers. A true 40% of all cancer drugs approved by the FDA since 2000 were first approved to treat blood cancers. That's why LLS is the only organization that could say beating cancer is in our blood. And the power of this organization goes way beyond research. The people of LLS are working tirelessly every day to provide support during every phase of a cancer battle. A team of master-level oncology professionals provide free personalized assistance to patients, families, and healthcare providers. Last year, our information specialists serviced more than 20,000 inquiries. With the rise of COVID-19, they've been even busier than ever. This past week, a friend of mine was diagnosed with T-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And this was a very valuable resource for him as he's just starting his battle. Thank you very much, LLS. In addition, our clinical trial team includes doctors, nurses, social workers, and other healthcare professionals who've guided over 600 patients into and through clinical trials last year. LLS advocates for healthcare and well-being of cancer patients at every state house in the nation, as well as on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Last year, LLS advocated for and made progress on 75% of the 31 policy recommendations asking for funding and better legislation. And in addition to the COVID-19 fund that Dr. Liu mentioned in the video, LLS provides millions of dollars every year in financial assistance directly to thousands of families for everything from co-pays to travel costs and other life-like needs in terms of rent, food, car repair, and phone service. If you or someone you love or someone you work with hears those dreaded words, "You've got cancer," LLS will be there at every turn. They were for me.
Thanks, Carl. In addition to the measurable impact we are making on blood cancer patients, I want to make sure to tell you about one new way that LLS is taking on the greatest challenge out there. It's for our children. And that challenge focuses on how do we help our children? Because you see, in the last 40 years, only 4 cancer treatments have been approved for first use on children. 4. You see, adult treatments, while they're great for adults and they help them, but they're fine-tuned to the needs of adults. And as a child, their growing bodies create different stresses. And so while many of these treatments work in our children, they're left with debilitating side effects that last with them through their entire lives. Things like learning disabilities, bone pain, hearing loss, and decreased lung function. It's a real sad story. The LLS Children's Initiative is going to take on children's cancer from every direction to find better treatments and ensure those treatments are targeted towards children, and they're helping to minimize the long-term damage that may come from treatments. The LLS Children's Initiative will more than double our grants to academic researchers focused on pediatric blood cancer. That's one part of a broader $100 million multi-year mission to bring cures and better care to all children with cancer. We have to do better for our children, and with the LLS Children's Initiative, we will. One of those kids is an adorable and courageous little boy named Crew, who is our National Light the Night honored hero. Crew was only 2 months old when what was thought of as a birthmark on his knee turned into a diagnosis of acute myeloid leukemia, or AML. The family's second home became Children's Hospital, where Crew endured months and months of treatments, transplants, pains, and challenges. And when he was well enough to be around others, Crew and his family went to their first local Light the Night and were blown away by the love and support they got from their community. Crew is now a rambunctious 2-year-old who doesn't stand still, and his parents couldn't be more happy to be exhausted chasing him around the house. We need more stories of survival like Crew's, and with your help, we'll be able to tell them. To continue pushing towards a cure for blood cancer and all cancers, we need support from generous corporate partners and executives like yourself. Good companies have the power to not only excel in their local area and at their business, but also to energize their community and their staff to go beyond and make a positive impact in the world around them. At this point, I want to turn the mic back over to Ria to talk about our efforts.
Thank you, Ed. It's easy to see why one of the finest national platforms for corporate America to get involved in the global fight against cancer is LLS's Light the Night. Light the Night is a true powerhouse, the 4th largest peer-to-peer fundraising campaign in the nation, with walks in 125 markets, more than 1 million participants, and over 10,000 corporate teams lighting the night. However, as we mentioned earlier, 2020 will look a little different for Light the Night. Rather than gathering together in the fall in Rockville, Reston, and Washington, D.C., like we normally would, Light the Night supporters, including sponsors, corporate and community teams, individual participants, and we hope all of you will continue to bring light to the darkness of cancer, just in a different way. This year, Light the Night will be virtually gathering, engaging supporters throughout the national capital area with key elements that have always made Light the Night special. Using virtual technology, we will kick off with an inspiring and uplifting ceremony that gives participants a sense of pride, knowing their involvement will help LLS cure blood cancers once and for all. We will continue to feature Light the Night's iconic lanterns, allowing participants to showcase their personal connection to cancer with interactive elements, including white lanterns for survivorship, gold for remembrance, and red for supporters. Sponsorship opportunities and assets will interact with participants starting now and lasting through the virtual event night. To acknowledge our sponsors and elevate the participant experience, we have a robust 4-month social media engagement plan. And additionally, Light the Night would not be complete without opportunities for team celebrations. We will be hosting virtual gatherings for teams and fundraisers to create this essential component. And finally, obviously, we will culminate in an exciting celebration complete with virtual fireworks. So here in the National Capital area, Light the Night will take place on Friday, October 23rd, striving to raise $2.2 million for LLS's mission. Now let's learn a little bit more about Light the Night's iconic lanterns. Gold represents walking in memory of someone lost to cancer. White lanterns represent those who are battling or who have survived cancer. And red lanterns represent those who support the cause and simply want to see an end to cancer. So here's where we get a little interactive on Zoom. We're going to post a poll on your screen asking you which lantern you'd choose at Light the Night. All right, the poll should be up on your screen now. And please punch in your selection and then hit submit. We're gonna give you a couple minutes. Or by minutes, I mean seconds, sorry. Thank you. All right, we'll share the results of the poll in just a little bit. While we know Light the Night will look unique this year as we adapt to a virtual event, we are committed to building partnerships with each of you to go far beyond 2020. I want to give you a glimpse of a traditional Light the Night and how our corporate partners find value in our partnership and being integrated into the mission of ending cancer. I can't wait to see you all virtually on Friday, October 23rd as we light the night together.
LLS is making a difference, and I'm personally inspired to be a part of that, and everybody at Burlington is inspired to be part of their mission every day.
Any company thinking about getting involved with Light the Night, I'd say, what are you waiting for? I don't know another organization that gives more back to those that are affected by leukemia, lymphoma.
One of the things that's so fantastic about the Light the Night program is that it brings together patients, caregivers, survivors, and other people who support those that have been affected by these really difficult diseases.
It presents an opportunity for us to stand side by side, shoulder by shoulder, with patients, their family, their caregivers, who have all suffered one way or another from blood cancer.
They support research that saves lives. And you see that here, where people are here to honor their friends and loved ones who have survived cancer, and others who are here to honor their loved ones.
It's important to us because it gives our members an opportunity to work with the communities that they're in, where they live, and where they work.
It's very important that we partner with key patient advocacy foundations such as LLS, and they are leaders in the field, and we could not be happier to have such a strong partnership with them.
The partnership with LLS is part of our culture. We've raised over $38 million to the mission that LLS goes after every single day. And so whether that's about life-saving treatments, new research, opportunities to support families that are touched by cancer, we're just really proud to be part of the work that LLS does and the heritage that that's led to in terms of the Burlington culture.
It's important for our employees to have an opportunity to participate, to learn, to raise awareness, to hopefully bring more funding and research and bring us closer and closer to a cure.
As you can see, our lanterns are literally bringing light to the darkness of cancer. In addition to holding a lantern, we would like to ask you and your organization to come join us and be part of Light the Night for 2020. We're looking for partners who are as passionate as we are about the long-term success of finding a cure for cancer, and also about changing lives and creating more survivors along the way. Today, we're highlighting 4 ways for you and your organization to join our mission to end cancer through Light the Night. The first opportunity is to become a sponsor. Leverage your brand by sponsoring Light the Night either in your local market or nationally. You know, the opportunities are really varied and just about endless. You know, blue chip brands like Burlington, Salesforce, Walgreens can tell you just how good it's been for maximizing their investment and getting exposure to this mission. Additionally, companies like Pharmacyclics and Janssen are national presenting sponsors of Hope and Survivorship. It's a fantastic example of how an organization has gone all in to become an integral part of our mission. And so their companies And the mission of Light the Night and LLS start to blend together, and we've created custom partnerships that's now entering their third year. Second, and this is where Capital Bank got involved last year, is to form corporate fundraising teams. I can't stress enough what a big opportunity this was for us last year, and what a big surprise it was for me of how it galvanized our teams, got everyone together to participate, and really exposed how deep cancer was touching many of the folks in our organization that in ways I didn't know, from people themselves to family members to children. It was a great team building effort for us to come together to support each other. And it really kind of cemented the solidarity of our group of employees. So I really encourage everyone to at least take a minute and take a look at this. The third way is open the door for retail partnerships. If your company's in the retail space or has connection to retail businesses, we love to partner together to build a program where your employees and customers can easily support LLS in a variety of ways. As a bank, I know that we have lots of customers in the retail space. So think about the ways that you may be touching folks indirectly sometimes, even if you aren't in the retail space. The fourth way you can get involved is we ask you to join the Executive Challenge. The Executive Challenge is an opportunity for you to lead by example through personal fundraising and contributions for LLS. This year, the Executive Challenge will be led by Chad Selke, CEO and founder of Selke Consulting. Under his leadership, we know the challenge will reach new heights and make a major impact on our mission. Last year, here in the National Capital Area, 82 executives participated in the challenge, raising $521,000 for Light the Night and LLS nationally. Overall, the Executive Challenge raised just short of $12.5 million through over 2,000 Executive Challenge participants, a pretty big accomplishment. The Executive Challenge, it's a great opportunity to network with local executives while claiming your stake in the future of cancer research and care. As a frame of reference, last year, I think at all our walks locally, there was about 10,000 people. So think about that opportunity to network with other business executives and get your company showcased. It's your personal opportunity to cure cancer in addition to your company's support. This year, we're striving for 100 executives, and we think we can do it. And we want you to be one of those, so please consider joining us. But don't take my word for it. I want you to be able to hear from someone who has experienced the power of Light the Night and may in fact be the person who invited you here today to today's program. Here they are with the reasons for lighting the night. Now, using the Zoom chat function, each of your co-hosts are going to share how they plan to support Light the Night. Jess from our local LLS chapter is here going to help us out by reading some of the responses.
Thank you, Ed and Carl, and hello, everyone. Each of our co-hosts has committed to impacting the lives of patients in a major way this year, and we are incredibly grateful. So let's hear some of the chats coming through. So I see in honor of her father, Caitlin Henry of KPMG says that they will have a large corporate team and she commits to raising $5,000 in the Executive Challenge. Our amazing corporate walk chairs, Ed and Carl from Capital Bank, are committed to raising $100,000 for our mission. That is awesome. Norm Armstrong of King & Spalding says he and the firm have committed to raise $25,000. Kim Rupert and SAIC have recommitted to not only a $25,000 sponsorship, but a national team. Thank you so much for that expanded reach, Kim. Mike Stark has committed to raising at least $7,500 in the Executive Challenge. Glad to have you on board, Mike. Washington Gas, a very long-time supporter, is stepping up as a $15,000 sponsor and is going to have a large fundraising team. Mark Ellenbogen of BDO has committed to a $25,000 sponsorship and a team fundraising. And then lastly, I see a couple coming through from our two longtime committee members. Dave Keffer, CFO of Northrop Grumman, plans to raise $15,000 with his team in support of his amazing son, Jack. And Jennifer Keating of Cisco has raised almost $500,000 throughout the years, and she is committed to going over the $500,000 mark. So thank you so much for your commitment. And again, thank you to all of our co-hosts for stepping up to end cancer. Oh, and while I'm here, it looks like I have the results from the lantern poll we took earlier. Okay, so it looks like about 45% will carry red in support, 44% will carry gold in memory of a loved one they lost, and it looks like 11% of you will proudly hold that white lantern high. You are our fighters and our survivors. So on behalf of the entire Light the Night team here in the National Capital Area, we thank you for everything you do to light the night. And I know the guests here today will be inspired to make commitments of their own. And now, Ed, I'll hand it back to you.
Thanks, Jess. So now is a time like no other, a time when what seemed normal is anything but. Now is a time when public health and safety requires us to remain apart, but now is also a time when our mission requires that we come together. Now is the time to empower every person in the nation to raise a lantern, because just as blood cancer sees no boundaries this year, Light the Night can be everywhere and anywhere. Now is the time for us to be bigger, more powerful than we've ever been before. Now, right now, is the time for a nationwide call to action. Be the voice that speaks up. Be the hand that reaches out. Be the light that cures cancer. Now we're going to give each of you out there the opportunity to tell us what you want to be the light that cures cancer. Click on the link that we just shared in the chat feature. This will take you to a form to share your interest and contact information. Please click on that link now and take a minute to fill out the form. In the meantime, on the screen, you see members of the local Light the Night team who will follow up with each of you soon. If you're going to be joining today from your phone, we will send you the link after this call. Please go ahead, fill out that form if you're able, and return to us here on Zoom in just a minute. All right. I'd also like at this time to thank the following 2020 sponsors: the Wawa Foundation, SAIC, BDO, Capital Bank, Deltec, Washington Gas, American Systems, Northrop Grumman, and Capital Petroleum. Thank you very much, all of you. And you may recognize some of your peers' organization on this screen, and we're also excited to have the following companies who've already committed to form a Light the Night team to get involved this year. I hope we've given you all the motivation you need to join the LLS team and light the night. Again, our 2020 virtual Light the Night will be held Friday, October 23rd, 2020. I know we've all been through a lot, and I'm sure the world has changed for you over the past few months. Holding the Light the Night virtually will be a change for all of us, but we promise it will be an inspiring way for you to support, honor, and celebrate the lives of those in your community, your family, your friends, your coworkers who've all been touched by cancer. Without a doubt, it'll be a powerful way for you and your company and connections to become involved. You're invited to this presentation because we know you can help us bring light to the darkness of cancer. We know that beating cancer is in your blood too. It's going to take the light of millions of people working together to beat it. But with your help, we know we can do that even faster and save even more lives. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you for all you do to help us virtually light the night here in the National Capital area. I'm going to stay online for a few minutes, and if anyone has any questions, thoughts, or ideas, please use the chat function to send a message directly to me, Carl, any of the executives, or the LTN staff. Thanks again, and I look forward to staying in touch and seeing you on Friday, October 23rd. Thank you very much.
May seem half empty, but it's sure filling up fast. We're here to change the future from the pain that's in our past. Just because it's always been doesn't mean it has to be. We can make a difference. Take this walk of faith with me. Let's light up that pretty night sky together. Gonna overcome the darkness with the love that shines forever. Our lantern's glow reflects our hope in a future oh so bright. We're hand in hand across this land. You know we're gonna light